Mm. Mm. So I start off the day baking a pumpkin pie because Thanksgiving tomorrow. About 50 minutes later. Alright, so graham cracker crust because that's what Sandy likes. And I actually didn't have regular sugar, so he's brown sugar, so it made it darker, but it also burns faster in the oven while you're trying to bake the center. So the key is how it tastes. I know presentation, it doesn't look very good. What can I say? I'm not an expert baker or cook. It's all about the taste anyway. Hi there, Coach Sage here with episode number 3 of Saving My Left Glute. That's the butt muscle. Trying to stack the mileage, maybe do a double run day today. I don't know, it snowed quite a bit yesterday. Got some turns in up on the mountain, and also knocked out some miles last night on the ice, a little treacherous. But wore the Hoka One One Speed Goat. Good traction, especially in the dark, and probably be running, if I do my second run tonight, it might be in the dark as well, because I kind of get a late start. If you notice, I'm a night owl, and I know a lot of you probably have to wake up early in the morning, maybe, and run in the dark, or you have to run after work. You're a busy family person, you got a full-time job, sometimes you got to squeeze in your runs in the headlamp on. So I could relate to that, running with a headlamp on. It's not always perfect conditions. It's easy for me because I have a choice. I have flexibility of when I could train in the middle of the afternoon here, but if I run twice today, the second run will likely be in the dark with my headlamp on. So we'll get that in, but we got to get some activation drills in. Working on the activation, but also loosening up that hip flexor. The left hip flexor is very tight. I have an anterior pelvic tilt, so to speak. So top of the bone in the pelvis here, this prominence is tilted forward more because the hip flexor is pulling on it, and it's tight. And rectus femoris, like I said, muscle runs all the way down to the knee. It's one of your 4 quads. It's this front one here, and it attaches just above a couple places up here, and that gets really tight from sitting, overuse, things like that. And the opposing muscles in the back would be your glutes, the glute maximus, the main butt cheek, glute minimus medius, there's the piriformis in there as well, and even like the top of the hamstring group, attaching all around in different areas of your pelvis, basically down in the pubis region. So it's very interconnected, and so we have to loosen the front doing some stretches. But it dawned on me that if you stretch too aggressively, especially on cold muscles, especially muscles like the rectus femoris, it's very reactive. It gets irritated. It doesn't like that. So it tenses up more when you try to stretch it if you overstretch it too much. So you have to be very gentle with your stretching and making those gains probably after your runs more in flexibility, but also just easing into it because it'll tighten up. And one strategy that I learned from looking at YouTube videos online, and you guys could comment on this, is actually doing a stretch where I do the opposite of stretching the hip flexor. I actually try to loosen the hip flexor by pulling my leg back while I'm on my back and holding that for like 2 minutes, just keeping it in a super relaxed state and really reducing the strain on it. I'm actually pulling on my the back of some of my, I guess they'd be adductors, and the top of the hamstring attachment. So pulling that leg back and relaxing the hip flexor actually kind of loosens it up more, staying relaxed in it. And then later in the day, actually doing some of those like lunge stretches. We have to be very careful with things like lunges. And then the activation, the glute activation, someone had recommended, I believe it's called the Cook. It's basically like a single leg bridge, a single leg glute raise, but using a tennis ball in the other leg flexed up into your rib cage to keep your pelvis in the right position and to kind of turn off that quadricep engagement. My whole problem is I have trouble tapping into my butt muscles because I want to overpower them, and I want to use my quads to get into hip extension. So I'm using the front of my legs, the front of my thigh basically too much, this bulky area here, and I'm not using the back part, especially the lazy butt. Got the lazy butt. So part of that's opening up that mobility and loosening the hip flexor, and then part of it's activating and tightening the butt muscle, and eventually building up strength so it's more activated in the running stride with each step. All right, so at the East Boulder Rec Center here, usually don't start runs from here, but I'm trying to avoid the mud because it did snow a bit. Like I said, trying to avoid that. It gets melty on the dirt trails and it turns to really bad clay mud, which sticks to your shoes. I'm wearing the Hoka One One Rihi shoe. So we'll get out on some dirt though and soft surfaces, get out some miles before it gets too dark and cold. Alright, so the snow didn't melt as much as I thought it did. Usually it drains pretty well on this gravel path, but it's nice and flat for easy miles out here. Basically, might have to get in some night miles on the paved bike path. Of course, at night I gotta be careful because the ice freezes over when the sun goes down at about 4:30 here. But yeah, like I said before, kind of a night owl, kind of lazy, so run at light at night in the headlamp. But maybe you could relate to that, because maybe you have to run after work, after family obligations, or you're trying to squeeze in a run at 4 or 5 in the morning. You got to fit around your busy schedule. So you know, it's more real that way. As a pro athlete, especially in places like Boulder, you get spoiled out here. We call it the bubble. It's detachment from reality, where it's like everyone's a full-time athlete, full-time pro, or they have really flexible work schedules. Lucky for that, very thankful for that. And you could run in the middle of a weekday when it's beautiful and sunny out on these epically beautiful trails at altitude. And it's a very supportive environment for that. Something I'm always thankful for, and a big reason why I moved here. But yeah, trying to put in the miles, trying to just stay healthy, run efficiently, run with good form, keep up with all the little things. The glute activation, the strength training. I'm wearing the Hoka One One Rihi shoe. It's a road shoe. It's actually a really lightweight, flexible road flat. I believe about a 4mm offset. It weighs less than 8 ounces. Put that in grams there. So super lightweight and flexible. Honestly, not great for these trails when they're covered in slush, of course. Otherwise, it's great on pavement and dry dirt. But yeah, maybe tonight I'll be wearing the Speed Goat with a Vibram outsole for extra traction in case it's icy out. So I guess what I'm saying is I really respect all you that have full-time jobs, regular jobs, and family obligations. You gotta really balance your time to squeeze in your runs and training. So more respect to you. Give yourself a thumbs up. Give yourself a pat on the back. That's hard. I can't even imagine that. I'm immature, never really had a standard full-time 40+ hour work week. Obviously don't have kids, so you know, being sponsored pro, you get all the flexibility and the gear, the time to train, the luxury. Being in a place like Boulder, it's easy. It's easy to run, so I got no excuses. Keep working hard though. All right, 8 miles in. What is that, like 13K, 12K? So yeah, gotta run some errands. Go to the post office, ship some international stuff. Yeah, get ready, do some stretching at home, then some more glute activation drills. Then we'll go out for a light night run jog. Looking at, hopefully get in 4 miles tonight in the dark with the Speed Goats on, hopefully not slipping on ice. Get the headlamp charged, and yeah, make it a 12-mile day. First double back, and we usually don't have people double in the training plans at Sage Running or athletes that Sandy and I coach until they're about over 70 miles a week, because you could usually run just once a day. It's more efficient. But to eliminate that stress, instead of just doing 12 miles every day, or what is that, 16, 18K or 20K a day, some days they'll break that up. And then of course some days you'd have one single long run, which you'd run 20 miles or 32K all at once. But since I'm trying to run over 70 miles this week, or about 113, 115 kilometers this week, maybe closer to 80 miles, I'm starting to bring back a couple doubles just to minimize the pounding and stress, but also to up the metabolism. You're running twice a day, you're getting going, putting the shoes on, burning calories, revved it up. All right, gotta get ready. All right, so it's like 5 p.m. now. basically already dark outside. But yeah, I'm gonna have a little snack because I skipped lunch today. I'm gonna have a little cupcake from Rad, local Boulder food. Looks delicious. I'm gonna have some coffee with it too. I don't care if it's 5 o'clock, whatever. Yeah, you know, healthy eating. It's a little overrated for performance, I think. I used to run with this guy, Brian Sell, 210 marathoner, made the Olympics. He used to eat McDonald's all the time. Unhealthy eating gets a bad rap in terms of raw performance, but healthy eating and healthy diet, I think, is underrated for long-term health, longevity, and long-term gains. So there's that. Refined sugar, lots of carbs, whatever. I'm hungry. I skipped lunch today. This thing's really good. And coffee. Coffee's the lifeblood. We'll run for coffee and cupcakes. All right, so just after 6 p.m., going out for the double, second round of the day. It's gonna be in the darkness, it's gonna be in the cold, there's gonna be some ice. Got the Hoka One speed goats on. A little treacherous, we gotta watch our footing. Let's get out there. Ooh, gotta be careful here. This is where I fell last week, this turn. Woo! So I'm actually feeling really spry and energetic, more so than I was on my first run. I think that cupcake's kicking in. Ooh, definitely overdressed. It's not that cold out actually, barely below freezing. Just a couple little ice patches, not windy. It's not bad at all. I think some people think I'm soft because they're like, oh, Sage likes to run on the treadmill in the winter. Well, you know what? I did 5 winters outside in Ithaca, New York, upstate New York. 3 winters in Michigan. Those winters were a lot more rough than Boulder. We used to run in like -10 degrees Fahrenheit in freaking blizzards. This is cakewalk out here. All right, good old Goose Creek. We're gonna flip it here, a little over 2 miles out. Is that like 3.3K? Yeah, I'm feeling really good tonight. Like I feel way better than I did on my compared to my first run. It's like I'm activating my glutes better, I'm limbered up. Didn't have much rest between, but yeah, this is good. I am running slow. I'm running slow for myself relative. I'm running like 8-minute mile pace, which, you know, at night, headlamp on, overdressed, and yeah, watching for the ice patches and filming, carrying this GoPro, of course, slows me down a bit, but it's all about easy pace mileage. And you could look at the heart rate data. We'll put this one on Strava. You can look at the heart rate data, try and keep the stride at least in the high 160s, closer to 170 would be better, but mainly just working on that glute activation. All right, let's get back. I'm getting hungry for dinner. All right, back home after that run. Got hot out there. Single leg deadlift, just using a light 15-pound weight because I'm just getting my form in, but I just want to preload that hamstring. I'm not even doing a full deadlift. I'm trying to flex my left butt, my left glute cheek. I could reach my hand back there, I could feel that hamstring tight, but then left glute, I also have to balance and then just bring it up and thrusting forward. So I'm not even doing a high knee with my other leg. I'm just keeping it, just working on that motion right there, just trying to isolate it. I can usually do at least 12 reps. Done a couple sets of this already, but earlier today as well. So single leg, you could critique my form, single leg deadlift. What do you think, Coach Sandy? I know I'm not going all the way up. I'm just doing I'm ending here.
I think you're using your back too much.
Using my back too much? Coach Sandy says I'm using my back too much. It's hard to tell. You guys can't feel what I feel. Also, thanks to Rad Foods. Got this fried rice and these vegan egg rolls. What's this other thing? I don't even know. But I'm gonna have this pair of peaches from Avery Brewing, special. And Sandy's been cooking up a storm. This is for tomorrow though. We got some sweet potato stuff. There's like dates on this. There's stuff in the oven. Vegan stuffing, Brussels sprouts. That's gonna be a feast tomorrow. Good stuff. All right, so thanks so much for watching this episode of Saving My Left Glute. Progress is slow and steady, and you got to be patient and you got to be strategic. And again, I don't have all the answers. I'm kind of experimenting here, so comment below with more suggestions. I thank you for searching these new exercises and getting into a routine, but also feeling good with the form, having fun filming. Thanks to Patreon supporters for really making this channel possible. Again, title sponsor Hoka One One for keeping the dream alive. Hope you're doing well. Let me know how you're doing. More content you'd like to see on here. Subscribe, like these videos. Thanks again, and stay tuned for more. VO2 Max Productions. I gotta eat. I'm hungry.